Hello and welcome to GreenBiz Studio. I'm Dylan Siegler, SVP of Corporate Sustainability here at GreenBiz Group, and I'm excited to have with me Tim Faveri. He's VP Sustainability and Stakeholder Relations at Nutrien. Welcome, Tim.
Thank you, Dylan. It's great to be here.
So, Tim, I know that Nutrien had a large team joining us at GreenBiz 23 just a few weeks ago. We were so glad to have Nutrien as a sponsor of the event. I am really excited to hear some of your team's key takeaways. Before we dive into that, can you tell us a little about Nutrien and your role there?
Sure. Well, thanks again for having me. Nutrien is a global fertilizer and crop input provider to farmers all over the world. We're a new company formed about 4 years ago from the amalgamation of Potash Corporation and Agrium, two iconic Canadian agricultural companies. And with that merger, created the largest fertilizer and crop input company all over the world. So our main areas of production are Canada, the United States, and then our retail business, which sells fertilizer and crop inputs to over 500,000 farmers in North America, South America, and as well in Australia. And my role as Vice President of Sustainability and Stakeholder Relations is to embed and roll out our global sustainability strategy and our Feeding the Future plan, and interact with all our stakeholders to ensure that agriculture and farmers' voices are around the table at when policy is being formed and decision making from regulators and NGOs, et cetera.
Thank you. That is really helpful background and context. And I'd love now to dive into one of my favorite conversation topics, GreenBiz 23. One of the items on the mind of many in the sustainability practitioner community is about how to accurately and authentically communicate sustainability messages. We want to engage many audiences. Corporations have a huge number of stakeholders. So to give some dedicated time and space to that conversation, we held a Comms Summit on the Monday and Tuesday of the GreenBiz program. And we really wanted to focus on bringing together those who are accountable for sustainability comms, as well as the corporate sustainability and legal professionals that kind of make up what we call the sustainability Bermuda Triangle. And we'll get to that a little later. So one of the areas of absolutely richest discussion was around how to build trust and understand those key audiences and how to get to really know your stakeholders. So Tim, I'd be curious to know how Nutrien goes about this. How do you get to know your stakeholders, those that you're communicating with and to, and how do you go about really building and maintaining trust with those groups?
Sure, and that's a really great question. So we're always engaged and actively engaged with our communities, industry association, global networks, and our biggest customers, which are growers all over the world. And that engagement really is to stay connected with them, to understand their businesses and their issues, and to keep our pulse kind of on the ground, right? It's interesting because farmers right now, I know across in some portions of southern United States, are already planting. So our crop consultants and our agronomists are actively engaged with them, giving them very important advice about fertilizer inputs, crop inputs, and how they can boost their yield and their income at the same time, right? And there's a favorite saying around our team, particularly at Nutrien, and we say it's moving at the speed of trust. And our style is based on these partnerships, like I described, and building relationships rather than, big fancy commercials or billboards. And we prefer to educate at the same time. So thought leadership articles, like the recent one we recently released at GreenBiz, called the Sustainable Ag Food System Puzzle. And it's an educational piece which dives into the path for a sustainable agri-food system, and talks about cultivation through collaboration, innovation, and co-investments. So those kinds of things, when you talk about trust, um, is super, super important. And trust, I think, only comes from seeing progress and really, really effective communications.
How do you simplify your messaging? Is there an example that you share of how you take a complex topic like this and break it down?
Yeah, that's such a good point. Our industry, like a lot of others, but I think sustainability in particular, loves acronyms, right? And with different stakeholders, you have to communicate in different ways. Um, but whatever, and this is what we found in today's era with so much access to data by many different stakeholders. No matter how much you simplify that message, you'll always need proof, scientific research to back up your claim or your messaging. Social media, for example, is a great way to bring simple messages to a complex topic. Your messages can be short and brief, high level, combined with a nice visual image or infographic or short video. Those are excellent ways of communicating and reaching important audiences on sustainability. Um, and as an example, as Nutrien, we can say things like measured 1 million acres that advance sustainable agriculture. But we need to back that up as well. So we use a hyperlinks or learn more boxes. And that trust we talked about earlier comes from having tangible projects, fact-based, science-based proof points that back up your claim.
Another hot topic at the Comms Summit was about how to communicate works in progress. So much of our work in sustainability is about working towards something versus necessarily having always an achievement to crow about. And so Mars and McDonald's both shared their perspectives from the Comms Summit stage. I'm curious, at Nutrien, what's your approach to sharing work in progress versus waiting until you have the final verdict?
So moving at a speed of trust is one of the sayings that I said that we have around here. The other is that not only our department but the entire company sees sustainability as a journey. Journeys have beginnings, they have progress, sometimes with speed bumps in the middle, and then they have endings. And so when we storytell, when we educate, and when we communicate on progress against some of our commitments and goals, it's always with that journey theme or narrative built into it. That being said, I think good, transparent companies communicate not only on the good parts of the journey, but the challenges and sometimes the really ugly things that might happen as well. And if you do that, I think, and it's done in an honest and transparent way, I think you build trust and you build the benefit of a doubt that with the reader that you're working towards this endpoint in that goal. And I think, when we talk about some of the sustainability projects, we use the term pilot project, right? We're starting our journey in the middle of that project. As we scale it, we would say our project, and this is the kind of results that we've achieved. And then who knows? Maybe the commitment ends with we're going to keep doing this, and we're even going to go further, or we've decided to pivot and go in another direction. So I think the lesson learned here is transparency builds trust as well. So be as transparent as you can, and talk about the journey that you're on, and then readers will give you that benefit of the doubt.
Thanks for walking us through that. Finally, I teased at the top of this interview the idea of the Bermuda Triangle. I was privileged to moderate a panel about this concept at the Comms Summit. And the idea is that the Bermuda Triangle is where well-intentioned messages lose their way And that might be because of different communications objectives between legal, sustainability, and comms teams. So that's what makes up the vertices of the triangle. Can you share how Nutrien is governed and set up? Are you, for instance, able to embrace this Bermuda Triangle legal, sustainability, and comms, conundrum, or are you kind of struggling inside silos across the company?
That's it. That was really, really good messaging, I thought, with respect to this whole triangular approach to communications. Prior to last year, we were in a siloed department, and I can happily communicate that that we are the Bermuda Triangle around here. Actually, we're a Bermuda Square, because not only is sustainability linked in with legal and communications, we also have government and industry affairs as part of our team. And so that's pretty integrated. And through the governance process that we've set up in actually ensuring that sustainability commitments are owned not by a corporate sustainability team, but by a business group or an operating region. All of our departments in our triangle or square are connected at the operational level, much more than we are, actually, because they would have their own robust comms, legal, and government affairs teams. So we collectively call ourselves a center of excellence in supporting those business groups, and so that's super important. And as well, in our world, sustainability acts as a thought leader, and we use strategic issues team to work with the business groups and within our overall department, and that is based on really, really robust stakeholder engagement, assessing materiality of these issues that we need to set commitments and goals, and then working with the entire organizations of setting up working groups and committees to ensure those goals and commitments are met. So it's a long answer to, I think, what is very common in the sustainability space. And the more sustainability teams can become integrated with those teams, the much more efficient and easier the comms and the integration is.
Tim, it's been great hearing about your takeaways from GreenBiz 23. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks everyone for watching this episode of GreenBiz Studio. We look forward to seeing you again next time.